7.3 Citi FM. Relevant radio, always.
No, but I mean, you say when PR comes for information from you, yes, they should come back to you before they publish. Absolutely. I mean, they reserve the right, because many auditing processes, when the person gets the information and puts out what they find, absolutely, there is space to respond to specific queries.
Anybody who's auditing you,
yeah,
it is mandatory for them to come and show you the findings.
Yes, they have. You're saying that this is the first time you're hearing this?
Absolutely. So we called PIAC and had a meeting with them and took them through all of it.
So you are teaching PIAC how to do auditing?
We agreed with PIAC that going forward, we should sit with them and agree the information we send to them, the format, and also sit down and have a thorough explanation of the numbers, because numbers on its own can be misconstrued, as it was in this case.
There's a feeling that the GNPC under you is overextended. Some people say, for example, that the decision to give the guarantee of 100 million for car power, the whole agreement with quantum power, it seems to be as if the GNPC is doing too much. And in fact, one website reported this week that you are under pressure because what your predecessor and your mentor did overextended the company, and there's consideration and there's dissatisfaction in the company. So let's deal with it one by one. How do you respond to the claim that you overextended GNPC as it pertains to the car power deal and the quantum deal?
First of all, GNPC is not overextended. GNPC is well capitalized, and GNPC has a mandate to ensure that it is an enabler in the industry, especially for its mandate of disposing of the petroleum that it generates from the ground. Mm-hmm. One of the petroleum products is gas. And as you're aware, GNPC has to find home for all the gas it produces. And one of the homes will be car power. Car power is one of the emergency plants that was brought in. And Mary is another emergency plant. We also have other plants that are producing in the eastern corridor that use gas only. So GNPC has to ensure that, first of all, it has a home or an outlet for the gas it's using. The reason why GNPC went into the car power deal was that GNPC will be supplying gas to car power. And as such, we came in to support what we would term a political risk guarantee, to ensure that we would have an outlet for gas. So that it was purely a business decision. It is a NPV positive transaction for GNPC. The other use of our funds, if we are not using them, would be to invest them in short-term investments in banks. But our money is mainly meant for our projects. And when some of our projects delay, we have to look for alternative investments. This is one of the investments, and there's a takeout of this investment. Because once the PURC sorts out the backlog of debt and the power sector becomes viable, ECG would then give the guarantee and take us out of the guarantee.
So is the car power deal working well? There are people who say the amount of money we pay for car power to produce power for us, the amount of tariff they charge, is what is causing the utility tariffs to go up, because we pay 5 times as much to car power as we pay to, say, VRA for similar power
I don't know
projects.
if that's true, but I can assure you, as an engineer and somebody who knows a little about finance, they are absolutely wrong that we are paying more than we pay to VRA. We pay more than we pay to VRA for the IPPs. Maybe it's 5 times more than we pay for the hydro, but you have to have apples, compare apples to apples. The car power tariff, or the car power cost of electricity from car power currently is one of the lowest.
What is it? Did you have that figure?
Mainly because they use HFO, that is heavy fuel oil. Now, heavy fuel oil is far, far cheaper than light crude oil. It's about maybe a third cheaper than light crude oil. So unless the if the plant unless the capacity charge is almost 3 times more, then that would happen. But I can assure you, from what
you can't mention the figure.
No, I don't have. I know. I think I know. It's, they're all around. I think the capacity is 5 or 6 cents per.
And have they been producing since they started? Have they been consistently producing since they started?
And we supply the fuel oil to them as well. So the idea was that GNPC was going to supply the fuel to them, and that is why we got into this transaction. So we're supplying fuel oil right now, and that will be taken out by gas once we are able to get the gas from the Western Corridor to the Eastern Corridor. And that is a project GNPC is working on with Ghana Gas to get the WACP pipeline working, and also to build another pipeline onshore to give us security of supply from the west to the east, because all the gas is in the west, but all the consumption of gas, or majority of the consumption of gas, that would be coming from the ENI fields, is currently in the
What about the Quantum project, this LNG project, the construction, operation of the liquefied natural gas storage, regasification and delivery facility? Again, people point to that to say, really, why don't you just leave Quantum? Why does GNPC want to involve itself in this? So give us some background into this arrangement with Quantum.
Well, it's a simple arrangement. The bottom line is that the gas that we are going to get from ENI in 2018 and the gas we currently get from the Jubilee field is not and will not be enough to supply the power sector, especially as the gas is going to take over from HFO and take over from light crude oil, which is currently being used to fire those IPPs that can use dual fuels. The other IPPs that can only use gas. And so we're not getting as much gas as we wish we were getting from Nigeria. We're getting less than 50 million standard cubic feet of gas, whereas we should be getting something in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 million cubic feet of gas. So the idea here was bringing an LNG regasification plant and get that plant to produce gas for the Eastern Corridor, whereas the gas from the Western Corridor will be used to power the IPPs in the Western Corridor. And then you'll have a pipeline in between the West and East, so that as the aggregator of gas, you can move molecules from East to West or West to East, depending on the demand and supply of gas.
Instead of just having one way.
Instead of just currently having one way. So we're working with Ghana Gas, spending some money to do the reverse flow. We're working with ENI and Ghana Gas to ensure that we have enough compression power to move the gas from the Atuabo and Sanzule all the way to Tema. And these are some of the projects that GNPC is working on.
It seems very messy. I mean, so there's GNPC, we are not sure of your relationship with Ghana Gas.
There's Quantum, about the ownership relationship.
There's Salt Pond Oil who've not paid their royalties. There's ENI, and to one extent you are losing revenue because the oil prices are going down, yet you are giving government a guarantee for camp power. You are giving 50 million. The whole thing seems...
The way you put it is wrong.
But that's the fact.
Losing revenue because you see,
your revenue is reduced. In fact,
it's reduced, but you're not losing
by 50%.
Yeah, it is. So your revenue projection is reduced.
Yes,
doesn't mean you're losing.
So you're losing money.
You're not losing money.
Yeah, you are not getting as much money as you would expect.
That is a better way to put it.
Based on expectation.
Yes, but the plans change.
So you're involved in our power sector, in our petroleum sector, in our gas sector.
No, the gas sector is the petroleum sector.
True, but not in the traditional sense of the word. The question which people
why not in the traditional sense of the word?
It's semantics.
It's not semantics.
The key point
the gas sector is not a byproduct. It is an integral product in producing oil.
But your major revenue comes from the agreement you have with the Jubilee partners. You drill oil, you sell it, you make money.
How about
and the revenue that you got.
How about ENI?
No, just let me finish. The point is that your numbers are not looking good. The amount of money you're getting is reducing. And yet you are involving yourself in all kinds of things which are not part of your core business. That's what they've said. In fact, so I'm not even talking about Quantum alone. We're speaking about your relationship with Ghana Gas, which is not clear. Your relationship with the Salt Pond Oil Company as well. And here you are, managing all these things in an era where the country is going through an austerity measure. We're supposed to be recovering from an energy crisis. We've not. There's doomsday still. So GNPC's overextensions may be part and parcel of these challenges we're facing as a country.
I think you are misconstruing what the facts are. Bottom line is GNPC has to dispose of its gas. GNPC has to ensure that the value chain that is going to ensure that we get paid is a value chain that is working and is sustainable. Currently, it is not. So GNPC has to be involved in ensuring that happens. Otherwise, for sure, we will not be paid for our gas. So that is why GNPC is involved in the power sector, because we are going to be the largest revenue in the power sector, being the fuel supply. If you look at how much money is collected, GNPC will be collecting from the IPPs more than 50%, because we'll be supplying gas to everybody. So when you say GNPC should not be in the power sector, we are in the power sector. We are the largest single entity in the power sector, because we're going to be the major supplier of fuel in that sector. Power is produced from the generation capacity and the fuel. The generation capacity is amortized over years. The fuel is used immediately. So if you look at the tariff, majority of that tariff is used to pay for fuel. And we are the single largest entity. VRA is one of the entities in the capacity. You have all the IPPs there. ECG is the main distribution entity in the downstream part of the power sector. But we are in the upstream part of the power sector because we are supplying the fuel. GNPC has to be in the power sector. We have to have a say in the power sector. We cannot sit down and let a power sector become defunct, because we, in the end, will bear the brunt. We will not be paid. So we have to make sure that we strengthen the power sector. And whatever we can do as an enabler to ensure that in the interim, this power sector gets assistance from us, we will do it, because in the long run, GNPC is in this for 20-25 years. Each field, we will be supplying gas to this sector for 25 years.
Can we say that if we don't finish this bringing of Ghana gas under GNPC in the immediate or near future, the supply chain problems you talk about are going to continue?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. What we need to do is we need to have a framework that works, irrespective of ownership of Ghana gas. If the framework doesn't work, we still will not be paid. That framework is very simple. We need to bring credibility into the power sector. What we need to do is we need to ensure that no one entity in the power sector can decide whether it's going to pay VRA, pay GNPC, pay NetGas, pay NGas. There has to be an escrow account that all the money goes into, and there has to be a defined waterfall. This is what we are working with the Ministry of Finance and PURC. And in the meantime, we also have to ring-fence the existing debt, because current production cannot be used to pay for past debt in the books. I need to be assured, and my financial institutions who are financing me need to be assured that if they finance me to produce gas from the oil fields, they will get paid. Not maybe, but they will get paid from the top. Because we are...
So it's not a Ghana gas problem, it's the chain.
It is a sector.
VRA and all those other people.
And that is why we have to be in that sector. That's why we have to have a say in it. We cannot stand aside and let the sector deteriorate. We have to put some muscle in it. We have to insist the right things are done. And that is why GNPC is in this. That's why we work very closely with the Ministry of Finance and PURC and the Ministry of Petroleum to ensure that the right things are done. We are at the table with the World Bank in these discussions. Why? Because we're going to be the largest single entity receiving revenue in this area. We have the most at risk as a single entity. We have to protect our revenue. We have to protect our ability to invest in future endeavors. Otherwise, GNPC will go bankrupt.
So the reports that your job is under threat, in fact, there's a new media report that the president may sack you when he comes back, because actually the report said some staff were so upset with the direction that GNPC has gone into, and some board members are convinced, and they've made an appeal to the presidency. And the report is that when he comes back from Japan, he would ask the petroleum minister to reassign you.
Well, I can assure you that I have the total support of my management team and my staff and my board. That's what I'm doing. Everything we're doing has board approval. I cannot execute anything without my board's approval. So I do have board approval, and I do have the backing of my board in everything we are doing. And it is a direction, and it's part of our strategy. If we're not going out of strategy, we're part of it. This is an intricate part of our strategy to be an enabler in the various sectors that we are playing in, to ensure that the whole value chain becomes sustainable. Otherwise, GNPC will be losing revenue.
So you don't fear for your job?
Not at all. Absolutely.
When was the last time you spoke to the president?
I don't speak to the president regularly.
For a company like GNPC?
No.
This is one of the largest.
Yeah, but the president...
You don't give him daily updates?
No, not at all. I give my minister updates, but not even daily.
So who is your minister? The power minister or the petroleum minister?
The petroleum minister is my minister.
Even though you place exactly in the power sector.
But we work a lot with the Ministry of Finance because our revenue...
So finance, petroleum, power. Those are your three ministries.
Those are the three ministries we work with on a regular basis.
Quick point of interest. The Tema Oil Refinery claimed it had made a profit for the first time in decades. How do you react to that?
Well, I've always said that if you put the right management in place, you put the right structures in place, and you make sure that there is very little interference. And as you know, the market is deregulated now, so the NPA doesn't control the price of it. That means that, in fact, government doesn't control the price. So now it's a free market, and
so
they
should we
be
start
making money.
asking them to process our crude then, since they've turned a profit?
No, we don't. You don't ask them to do it. If they want our crude, they would approach GNPC.
But you just spoke of the chain.
Yeah.
And if the better control you have of the chain, the better for all of us.
Oh, so
and
you want
talk is just close
you
by.
want GNPC to own?
No, talk to them. Send them, because somebody will ask, why should you send crude from Ghana to somewhere in Turkey for it to be processed and brought back to us as finished product? So that's the question.
Well, you are aware that 5 of our cargoes are associated to the CDB loan, and that is one of the conditions. We sell the crude oil to Unipec, and Unipec, sells the crude oil in the market. Any extra crude that we get, we could have discussions with them.
So that's the question. So now that they are making profit, would you call a one and say, hey, you're making profit?
I speak to
what can you do with that? So that
I speak to Kwame.
Our crude doesn't go that far, so that things are, because we power a lot of our plants with crude, and we also need finished product to run parts of our country. So it will make a lot of sense if a profitable oil refinery is just next door.
I totally agree with you. And we have a lot of conversations with Kwame and his team, and we assist them in marketing and things like that. The issue is we do not have enough crude because 5 of our cargoes are tied to the CDB loan. Any extra cargoes that we have, they very welcome to open a letter of credit to get it for us.
An update on the 10 fields. Where are we with that?
The 10 fields are on track. I believe that we should start production in the beginning of the third quarter, in July. The ship is in, the hookup is done. The risers are being put in place. They are doing some tests on the subsea at the moment. I'm sure by the end of May, we should be able to start the commissioning, and by end of June, July, we should start production.
How transformational would that be in terms of the quantum of oil or whatever we are getting?
Well, in the first, when you start up a plant, you're not going to produce the maximum for about 6 months or so. So this year, you're not going to see too much. We may have a cargo this year, but it's not a Jubilee field. Let's get something straight. Jubilee is supposed to give us 125,000 barrels, and it's supposed to give us 150 million cubic feet of gas. 10, on the other hand, will be giving us something like 50 million cubic feet of gas. We're having discussions with the partners to see whether we can accelerate that, because if Jubilee is not producing that much, we have to maximize the pipeline, which can take, and we have to maximize Atwabo, the plant, which can take 150 million scuffs. So the idea was to produce up to about 100 from Jubilee and 50 from, 10. But we may, by next year, start producing a little more from 10, because Jubilee's production it's not coming down. We cannot increase it because of the current problem we have with the tariff. By the end of the year, we should be able to take a firm decision what we're going to do with the vessel to put it in a more permanent position than it is now. And that could also take us about a year to get done. So from now till, somewhere end of next year, we will not be at full throttle with Jubilee. We may be doing about 100,000 barrels or less. But with 10, I think by early next year, we should be doing the maximum. I think it's about 80,000 barrels or so. But you start slowly.
Well, we wish you well. We hope your plans get the light of day. Thank you very much, Alex Mould, Chief Executive of GNPC.
Acting.
Acting. You've been acting for how long now?
Well, I've always been acting. At MP, I acted for how long?
So Alex Mould is the acting chief executive of the GNPC, and that's all we have time for on this segment of the program. My name is Bernard Avle. Keep watching Citi TV. Keep listening to Citi FM.